Exeter, NH. New Hampshire's long-celebrated first-in-the-nation primary could have the last word on the 2024 Republican nomination battle. As voters prepare to trudge to polling places through snow-covered New Hampshire, former President Donald Trump is poised for what could be a decisive win over former South Carolina Gov. Nikki Haley. Despite mounting criminal charges and fierce opposition from old guard Republicans, Trump has built a formidable lead in a Granite State race that has boiled down to a one-on-one contest with the former United Nations ambassador. Since his win last week in the Iowa caucuses, Trump has made it clear that he believes a big resounding win in New Hampshire should force opponents to concede the entire GOP race. And Trump isn't alone. In the past 8 days, 3 ex-challengers, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, South Carolina Senators Tim Scott, and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, have fallen in line to endorse Trump. Prep for the polls, see who's running for president, and compare where they stand on key issues in our voter guide. They're all coming with us, Trump told supporters Sunday night at the historic Opera House in Rochester, NH. Haley. We don't do coronations. Despite polls showing Haley trailing Trump, she has still vowed to challenge the Republican frontrunner in New Hampshire. However, a bad Haley loss would increase the pressure her to join DeSantis and withdraw from the 2024 race for the White House, handing the nomination to the former president. In a Monday appearance on Fox News, Haley said, "I know the political class wants to say that this race is over, but voters may have different ideas. We don't do coronations," Haley said. "A democracy is about giving people options. We're in this. We're going to keep on going." Haley is aiming to build momentum for the Feb 24 primary in her home state of South Carolina, if she can last that long. Trump is pulling a little more than 54% of the New Hampshire vote, according to an average of recent polls compiled by Real Clear Politics. Haley is averaging just under 37% in those surveys, placing the former president firmly ahead of the former South Carolina governor in Tuesday's pivotal primary, winnowing the field. This year's New Hampshire primary may be remembered as the final chapter for Trump's 2024 GOP challengers, after approximately a dozen Republican rivals dropped out in recent months. DeSantis accommodated the frontrunner just on Sunday, abruptly announcing by video that he was exiting the race and endorsing Trump. The real estate mogul, who lost the 2020 election to President Joe Biden, admittedly announced his latest bid unusually early, in November of 2022. After Trump's announcement, a series of Republicans filed to challenge him, including Haley, DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, former Arkansas Gov. Asa Hutchinson, former Vice President Mike Pence, former New Jersey Gov. Chris Christie, and North Dakota Gov. Doug Burgum. But over the past several months, political observers have watched as Trump's challengers have dropped out one by one, either because of low poll numbers, failure to qualify for Republican debates, or poor performances in Iowa. Now it's a head-to-head face-off, just Trump and Haley in New Hampshire. Trump's trials cast a shadow in New Hampshire. Trump is on the verge of winning the crucial primary despite the fact he was indicted 4 times last year and faces a cluster of criminal trials and civil lawsuits in 2024. That means Trump could be fighting accusations of trying to steal an election as he seeks another term in office. Trials scheduled in Washington and Georgia involve Trump's efforts to overturn Biden's victory in 2020 ahead of the insurrection of January 6, 2021. The former president's legal hurdles have also provided an uncommon campaign venue for Trump. A courtroom in New York City at a defamation trial brought by writer E. Jean Carroll, who has accused Trump of sexual assault. The judge in the Carroll case postponed the proceedings Monday because of an ill juror, but the Carroll trial will resume Wednesday, just hours after polls close in the Granite State. Low-key in New Hampshire. Despite Trump's unprecedented criminal charges, 2024 has marked a more subdued New Hampshire primary, given the dearth of candidates. 2 debates set for earlier this month were canceled, and Trump wasn't going to participate anyway, as he has skipped all of the GOP primary face-offs, another factor that sets this year apart. The Democratic incumbent president won't even appear on the ballot. The Democratic Party tried to push New Hampshire later on the schedule, and make South Carolina the nation's first contest, switching up the traditional schedule for voters. As New Hampshire officials and national Democratic leaders clashed, Biden didn't even register for the primary. Instead, his supporters are conducting a write-in effort on his behalf against little-known challengers, Representative Dean Phillips, D-Min, and author Marianne Williamson. As New Hampshire prepares to vote, the nation will watch whether Trump and Biden will simply sail to victory or whether their opponents force an upset. A historic primary, though 2024 marks a strange year for the Granite State, New Hampshire, which began its first primary tradition as far back as 1920, has already provided its share of political history. In 1952, it vaulted World War II General Dwight Eisenhower toward the Republican nomination and the White House. In the tumultuous year of 1968, a little-known senator from Minnesota named Eugene McCarthy campaigned against the Vietnam War and pulled 42% of the New Hampshire vote against incumbent President Lyndon Johnson. McCarthy's showing helped persuade Johnson to abandon his re-election bid. Future President Bill Clinton survived the New Hampshire primary in 1992, finishing a decent second to Massachusetts Senator Paul Tsongas. Despite attacks over his personal life, his efforts to avoid Vietnam, and 8 years ago, one Donald J. Trump, who had lost the Iowa caucuses to Texas Senator Ted Cruz, won New Hampshire easily and was on his way to the presidency.